Hey there, and welcome back. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you with us. Today I'm just going to give you guys a quick video on pickled beets and how we just do our beets. I do talk about in the video how this recipe I got from my grandmother and she got from her mother. So it is not one of the extension office approved recipes that you can get. Do your own research and decide if you want to use things or not, but my family has used this recipe for a really long time, so I do feel comfortable using this recipe. My family loves pickled beets, and I think I've mentioned in previous videos that I find that just having a jar of pickled beets as a side dish is really easy, and as I said, because my family loves it, they disappear like crazy. So this year we're going to try and do a few different batches, but my sister and I did this one together, so I'm going to go ahead and start that video up for you, and hopefully you'll enjoy it and give the video a like. Let's go ahead and get into this video on pickling beets. So we start by pulling out our beets. Nothing special about this, just pull your beets out, and we're going to go ahead and wash them up in a little bit. So I like to pull everything out first. Now this beet recipe is one that my grandma has done forever, and her grandma did before her. So I feel completely safe using it, even though it is not one of the ones from the recommended Ball or Kerr books. It hasn't been tested by any of those extension offices. But as I said, my grandmother and great grandma have used it forever, so we use it still. But I would recommend that everybody do their own research and decide if recipes that aren't in those specified places are things that they want to use. But this one is one that I do use because, as I said, my grandma and great grandma have used it, and I feel comfortable with it. Now after we pull the beets, we're going to go ahead and rip the tops off, and it just makes them easier to handle, and I like to put the tops in a bag and save it and give it to my rabbits over the next few weeks as snacks and treats. I actually put it in the plastic bag because I have a fridge that I put them in to keep them a little fresher for the rabbits, and then I can feed them for a longer period of time from those beet tops. So after we got the ones pulled out of my garden, we went in and got my sister's that she brought with her from her garden. She also brought these 2 heads of cabbage and some carrots, and we made coleslaw that evening for dinner since we were all over. And we just let the hose run on the yard and wash them up with a scrub brush. And then what you're going to want to do after you get them all washed up is take them in the house, cut the tops and the bottoms off, and then put them in a pot, fill the pot with water, and start them on the stove. Now while you're waiting for these to come up to a boil and get soft, just fork tender, we're going to go ahead and make sure and wash all of our jars, make sure they're clean, just warm soapy water. And then once these have boiled for a while and become fork tender, you are ready to go ahead and peel them. Now, a word of caution, they are going to be really hot, so it's nice to let them scoop them out of that hot water and let them sit for just a few minutes to cool off a little bit to the touch. It's still going to be really hot, so you're going to want to work fast and give your fingers a little bit of break from the heat. And once you get them all peeled, or as you peel them, you can give them a quick dice. If they're small, you can just cut them in quarters. But we like to chop them a little bit smaller so they're easier to eat later. And go ahead and just, as I said, peel them and dice them. Now here's where my grandmother's recipe varies a bit from the regular ones. What she would always do is she would put her chopped or diced beets in the jars and then make the brine that goes in it and just put them in the jars from there. Other recipes require you to bring the brine and the beets up to a simmer in the pot. But your brine's going to consist of 2 cups of your beet water, 2 cups vinegar, 2 cups of sugar. We bring it up to a simmer. After your brine has come to a simmer, go ahead and fill your jars with your beets in them to a 1-inch head space, making sure to debubble when you check that head space. And then we water bath can these for 20 minutes. If you have any questions on water bath canning, I do have a water bath canning for beginners video. But you make sure and start that water bath with just warm water and bring it up to a boil. And once it's boiling, you start your timer. And then we bring them out and let them cool overnight before we move them and take the rings off.